Shalom and greetings to you all. My name is Richard Liverance, and I am the Western Regional Marketing Director for the Israel Ministry of Tourism. My office is located in Los Angeles, California, but we also have regional offices in Chicago and Atlanta, New York, and Toronto. We are the tourist board for the state of Israel, and we operate in the United States and Canada to promote tourism, educating the North American travel industry and the traveling public about what may very well be the most important destination on earth, Israel. Now, I know that things have been a bit hectic in the Middle East recently. Honestly, that is not unusual for the Middle East. In fact, the Middle East, and Israel in particular, have been at the center of a rather complicated and yet breathtaking history. For Israel stands at the very center of God's redemptive purposes for the world, and for that reason, it is a place not only of extraordinary history, but of ongoing conflict and wonder. And the best place to experience that wonder is in the land of Israel for itself. For the next few minutes, I want to take you on a bit of a journey as we explore Israel as a destination that every single one of you, by all possible means, should plan to visit. So let's get started. We like to call Israel the promised land of meaningful travel, and the emphasis here is on meaningful. It is perhaps will be the most consequential trip that you will ever take. Israel is an extraordinary destination, not only just because of its beauty and its culture, but also because of its extraordinary history. And that is the one reason why it is perhaps one of the most extraordinary and consequential trips that you could ever take. I talk to people all the time who say, I've been to 100 places on earth. Israel was my favorite. It's because of what it does deep inside the soul of somebody who travels there. So we're excited to invite you to come as well. But to get started, let me tell you just a little story. It's an old story, and it goes back 4,000 years. 4,000 years ago, the greatest travel agent of all times. I mean, this guy has moved more people, more places across the face of the earth than anyone in human history. He's also known as the God of Israel, the Most High God. He spoke to a man in a far off distant region, and he said to him, I want you to leave your country, and I want you to go to the land that I will show you. And there in that land, I will make of you a great nation. I will bless you and make your name great. And in you, all the families of the earth will be blessed. Most likely, you already know the name of that man to whom God spoke. It's Abraham. And just the simple fact that you already know the name of Abraham and probably know something about him proves the validity of the story, that God made Abraham's name so great that 4,000 years later, we're all still talking about him. We all know him. It's extraordinary. So Abraham left his country and he went to the tiny bit of land that God showed him. It was a tiny strip of land in the eastern Mediterranean, known at that time as Canaan or Canaan. And Abraham lived as a Bedouin all of his life in tents. And he had a son named Isaac, who had a son named Jacob. And Jacob's name was also Israel. And from Israel and his 12 sons, the nation of Israel was born. Now you can read the rest of the story, but just why God chose Israel to be at the center of his redemptive purposes, through whom he would bless the whole earth, is part of the greatest story the world has ever known. And that's why entering into Israel and stepping into the land of Israel is absolutely life-changing, because you step into and become a part of that extraordinary story when you experience firsthand the stories that you've loved for so long, the stories from the Bible that you've read for so long. It changes you deeply. And so at the center of what God is doing in the earth is Israel. And that's why it's been a place of conflict and yet a place of wonder as well. Every single one of you probably could tell me a story of something that took place in the land of Israel. You grew up with those stories. And the whole world is interested in what is happening in Israel. And I think that's why the world's focus has been on Israel for so long. I love this map. Maybe you've seen it before. This is actually from the 16th century. It's by a guy named Heinrich Bunting. He was a German theologian and cartographer of sorts. And he did a map of the world, and this is his illustration. Now, he didn't think that it was the actually accurate map of the world, but he's making a theological point. And you'll notice those three different things. It's a clover leaf, and he's designed it as a clover leaf, and there's in the green part of that leaf, it says Europa, or Europe. The yellow is Asia, and then the pink is Africa. And right in the center, and I don't know if you can see it very well, but is a city, and underneath it says Jerusalem. He's making a very serious point, and this is a point that's very ancient. For thousands of years, people have thought that Jerusalem was at the very center of the earth. And this is the point he's making with this map. Now, is it at the very geographical center of the earth? We don't really know. Maybe that can't be determined per se, but it is at the theological center of the earth. It is at the center of the earth in terms of God's interest and God's plan for the whole world. And so this is such an important map that brings out a very important point. Consider this. This was written by the prophet Ezekiel 600 years before Christ. He says this, "Thus says the Lord God, this is Jerusalem. I have set her at the center of nations with lands around her." Isn't that extraordinary? When you think about it, and God has placed Israel at the center of nations, and that he intended Israel to have an impact, as he said, through you, Abraham, and through your seed, all the families of the earth will be blessed. That's what makes visiting Israel so very extraordinary. And it's why we call it the promised land of meaningful travel. Now let's just get into a few things here about a trip to Israel and to see if we can help encourage you to come. First of all, it's an ancient land, yes, but it is a modern nation as well. It's very easy to get around. English is widely spoken there. Also, Hebrew is number one, and then Arabic is also spoken, but English is spoken by almost everyone, and certainly everybody that you would encounter as you're going to hotels and restaurants and other events and venues. Most businesses accept all major credit cards, and so it's very easy to get around. You don't need to bring a load of cash with you. You can get around very easily with credit cards and even debit cards. And then you don't need a visa. If you're an American, a Canadian, or Mexican, you do not need a visa to enter Israel. You do need, and this is something that is more and more being required by nations all over the world, what is called an electronic travel authorization, an ETA. And that can be simply done online by just putting in ETA-IL and looking for how to pay for that. It's just $7. It lasts for 2 years, but it facilitates you entering Israel very easy. And it's kind of like looking at your passport ahead of time so that you can get them into the country very easy. And again, it lasts for 2 years, so it's a great thing to have. Let's think about Israel just for a moment, just to introduce you a little bit. There are key regions, and what's extraordinary about Israel, it's a tiny little land. Most people kind of compare it to the size of the state of New Jersey, if you're familiar with that. It's only about 280 miles long by 70 miles wide at its widest. And so it's a small country. You can get around very easily. And so if you're there just for 7 days or even 10 days better, you can see almost all of the country and really have a tremendous time experiencing it. There are key regions. There are 6 different climactic zones. And some of these regions, as you go from region to region, you experience a difference. You're going from sea level up to 2,500 feet above sea level, down to 1,400 feet below sea level at the Dead Sea. And it's extraordinary going from, in such a little space, going from climactic zone to climactic zone, and from a different kind of place like desert to mountain to alpine to savanna to lush gardens. It's extraordinary. Jerusalem is a city that everyone should see. Tel Aviv is kind of like a New York or a Los Angeles of the Middle East. Extraordinary city. There's the north, Galilee. There's the south down in the Negev desert. And then there's the Dead Sea area. All of these are extraordinary places that can be easily visited within a week to 10 days time. Let me just show you this very quickly. This is a beautiful little video. Watch this about Jerusalem.
so connected and so together. It's like as if everything combines together into this beautiful harmony. Like Jews and Arabs and tourists from all over the world, like Chinese and Australians, all together, something that you cannot find anywhere else.
When we walk in Jerusalem, we feel the story comes alive. 2,000 years ago, the people there walked there around, Jesus walked there around, and now we walk around here. It's very special.
I feel the sky is a bit closer. I feel that it's not just a story from the history books, but it's real and it's alive, and I'm a part of it.
Yes, Jerusalem really is an extraordinary place, and many people experience a sense of overwhelming emotion the first time they see Jerusalem, because it is the center of so much extraordinary history. But it's a great place. It's about 3,000 years old. It was known as the city of David, the Zion. It's the city that David conquered and made his capital city about 3,000 years ago. But there's some extraordinary things to see there. The old city, it's about 1 kilometer square. And in it has a Jewish quarter, a Christian quarter, a Muslim quarter, an Armenian quarter. And each one is kind of its own cultural little space. As you go from quarter to quarter, you experience the depth of the complexity of the culture of Israel. So it's really quite phenomenal. And then, of course, the Mount of Olives, the Garden of Gethsemane, places like that that are extraordinary to the Christian story and to the biblical story. So Jerusalem is a must-see, and really everybody who goes to Israel, even if they're only there for a day, they make it up to Jerusalem because you have to see that city. It's extraordinary. Particular sites to see: the Machane Yehuda market. It's an extraordinary market that's constantly busy. During the day, it's fruits and vegetables and meats and everything else that you'd want to buy. By night, it turns into cafes and restaurants and clubs and bars and things, and it's really fun and quite fun to be there in the evening. The Holy Sepulchre, considered the most holy place for Christendom. That is where the death and burial and resurrection of Christ is recognized, and it's an extraordinary ancient basilica that's there. The Western Wall is the most holy site for Jews. They go there to pray. It's part of the old retaining wall, 2,000-year-old stones still in place, that once surrounded the temple. That's just above there, and Jews go there to pray for the restoration of the kingdom of Israel. They go to pray for many things. As a matter of fact, people from all over the world pray there and leave notes stuck in between the stones. It's as if all the hopes and dreams should be found and directed towards Jerusalem. That is such an amazing tradition to go there and to pray at the wall. And so there are extraordinary things. And in the Garden of Gethsemane, of course, trees there are over 1,000 years old, and they don't go back to the time of Christ, but they may be from shoots from the roots of the trees that were there in the Garden of Gethsemane on the night that Christ prayed. So it is in a remarkable place to walk through there. Let's take a look a little bit at Tel Aviv.
The most fun part about street food is the atmosphere. It's the food and vibe. Sitting around in a place where they sell street food in Israel, you can see the people, you can hear the music, you can feel the vibe. It's different than anywhere else in the world. Falafel, shawarma, shakshuka, everything that gets inside of a pita bread, that's the Israeli street food.
1, 2, 3.
It's the most genius bread in the world. I can take the highest food that I'm doing and put it in the most common situation in Israel, and that is the pita.
I think that sandwich, it's not only food, It's more than that. And it has to be interesting. It must not repeat itself. I'm selling something more than food.
Tel Aviv really is an extraordinary place. I mean, it is, if Jerusalem is 3,000 years old, Tel Aviv is only a little more than 100 years old. And we like to say Jerusalem is where you go to pray and Tel Aviv is where you go to play, because it is a constantly moving city. I think I compared it before to Los Angeles. It's like the Los Angeles of the Middle East. It is modern. It is, the food scene there, as you saw in the video, is extraordinary. Lots of things going on. Tel Aviv is also the center of Israel as a startup nation. In other words, there are so many companies of cutting edge industries, biomedical technology, computer technology, agricultural technology, all kinds of things happening in and out of Israel. And Tel Aviv is kind of the center of that. As a matter of fact, Israel produces more brand new patents of new things coming on the market and coming into technology and industry than any other country on earth, except for the United States. So it's a really remarkable place, very innovative, constantly moving, constantly building. It's an extraordinary place to be. So Tel Aviv is a wonderful city to visit as well. Here are a couple of places that are so great. We talked a little bit about the food, and you can walk through some of the markets like the Carmel market or other markets within Tel Aviv and just experience the food. Neve Tzedek is kind of an older neighborhood, but beautiful with boutiques and little quaint alleyways and shops and cafes. Rothschild Boulevard is kind of the center of historic Tel Aviv and the historic founding of the state of Israel. That's a great place to be. And then Jaffa is actually part of Tel Aviv. It is, however, one of the most ancient ports in the entire world. It goes back thousands of years. And of course, those of you who know the biblical story, Jaffa is the place where Jonah left on his fateful journey when he was swallowed by a fish and sent back to Nineveh to preach to the people there. So the history in and around this modern city is also extraordinary. And Jaffa, of course, is also the place where St. Peter, received the vision from God to go to take the gospel to the Gentiles. And he immediately left Jaffa and went up the coast to Caesarea, where a centurion and his family came to faith in Christ. So that was such an interesting historical, biblical tidbit about that place. Now let's take you up north. Oh, that's a beautiful video. Wasn't that amazing? That gives you just a little bit of a taste of the region, the northern region of Israel, which is Galilee and the Golan. And it is beautiful up there. And it's at the center of Galilee really is the Sea of Galilee. And you know that from the biblical story. And the Christian story, so much of it takes place there. You've got places like Capernaum on the north shore of the Sea of Galilee, known in Hebrew as the Kinneret. And then you've got other places around there as well that figure into the biblical story. And so it's an extraordinary place for people who are interested in the Bible to go, to study. All the way up north, though, in the Golan Heights, you can ski at certain times of the year, obviously in the winter time. Sometimes it's a very short winter, other times it's longer. But ski on Mount Hermon, and Hermon figures also into the biblical story. And so you can actually ski that in the wintertime. But there's rafting on the Jordan. The Jordan River, the upper Jordan, comes into the Sea of Galilee and then exits the southern part of the Sea of Galilee and goes all the way down to the Dead Sea. There's nature reserves. There are nature reserves in and around the Golan and the Galilee. So much to do, so much hiking and being out on the sea itself on a boat, kayaking or rafting the Jordan River. Those are some extraordinary things to do, as well as the historic study in and around the Sea of Galilee. So some top sites to see. Nazareth, of course. This is the childhood home of Jesus of Nazareth. And at the center is this extraordinary Basilica of the Annunciation, where Mary received the message from the angel Gabriel that she would bear the Christ. You've got Akko by the sea, and Akko was, for a couple of hundred years, was the capital of the kingdom of Jerusalem during the Crusader period. And there are still Crusader remains there. They're extraordinary to see. You walk through Crusader halls and tunnels underneath the city that are amazing to explore. Haifa, also on the coast, extraordinary place, and they've got sort of the cascading gardens of the Baha'i temple there that are beautiful to see. But Haifa also has extraordinary history, extraordinary culture, and then of course all around the Sea of Galilee, the history, the beauty to see that should not be missed when you're in Israel, to go up to Galilee. Now let's take you south. I think you're getting an idea of how diverse Israel is and how many different extraordinary things there are to do in the country. The desert is one of my favorite places. In the south is the Negev Desert, and it extends from a place called Beersheba all the way down to a lot with some of the most extraordinary geological formations on Earth. There is what's known as the Maktesh Ramon, which is the world's largest natural crater. It's a big depression in the earth. And you saw some pictures of it. There's a beautiful hotel that sits there overlooking the crater, and there's hiking, there's jeep trekking, there's camel trekking. You can have Bedouin experiences. Go to spend some time with the Bedouins, to have coffee with them, to be in the tent and understand Bedouin culture. And what's interesting about Bedouin culture in the Negev, in the southern Israel, is that it still retains some of the ancient culture that we would have expected Abraham to have and the patriarchs to have. And so to spend some time in Bedouin culture is really an extraordinary experience. But you've got all kinds of things to do down there, stargazing and jeep trekking, as we said, and camel trekking, and all kinds of things to do in the Negev. So it's an extraordinary place. Some sites down that are interesting, all the way down at the very tip on the Red Sea is a lot, and it is a resort area on the Red Sea. A great place to snorkel, to scuba dive. There's great scuba companies down there. It'll take you scuba diving out to swim with dolphins, to see the coral reefs down there. You've got the Ramon crater, which I just mentioned, the world's largest natural crater on Earth. With amazing sands, amazing geologic formations in Timna Park, which is not too far from Eilat. is a place of history as well. This was actually, they found copper mines, and they go back to the time of King David and King Solomon, particularly. Believe they found King Solomon's copper mines in the Timna Park. And there as well, that's the mushroom formation you see there in that photograph, and more extraordinary geological formations. And then the nature and the wildlife and the animals in the Negev desert are really wonderful to see. So I love the desert. It's one of my favorite places to be in Israel. I love constantly to go down there. All right, let's go to the next one. I think everybody's heard of the Dead Sea. It's a wonderful place. Obviously, it's the world's largest spa, really. For thousands of years, prophets, priests, and kings have been going down to soak in its waters. It is 10 times saltier than seawater, the Dead Sea. The Jordan River comes down from the Sea of Galilee, fresh water, and then deposits right into the Dead Sea. But the Dead Sea has no outlet, and so the water stagnates there. And whatever salts or minerals are collected along the way of the Jordan River are deposited in there. It has made it very salty. So you don't really swim in the Dead Sea. You float, and you cannot sink. And it is one of the lowest places on Earth. Actually, it is the lowest place on Earth, at 1,400 feet below sea level. It sits in a depression known as the Dead Sea Transform Fault, and it is an extraordinary place to be. To put mud on you and to soak in the waters. In fact, an entire industry of cosmetics and healthcare have been created around the Dead Sea. Perhaps you've come across some products from the Dead Sea at some time. So the Dead Sea is an extraordinary place to be there. There's a great resort area at En Bokek in Israel where you can stay overnight, beautiful hotels, and then spend some time in the beautiful waters, the salty waters of the Dead Sea. Some great sites there. First of all, En Gedi. And En Gedi is of springs that start in the Judean highlands and come cascading down in waterfalls and pools all the way down to the Dead Sea. En Gedi figures into the biblical story as well. This is where King David hid from Saul when Saul was in pursuit of David. He hid with his men in En Gedi. Why? Well, it's an extraordinary water source. As a matter of fact, it's one of the only fresh water sources in the desert, in the Judean desert. And he was able to stay there and be refreshed by the waters. And he encountered King Saul there, as a matter of fact. And I think you probably know some of the story. En Gedi also figures into prophecy, however. In the book of Ezekiel, En Gedi will be the place of fresh waters coming down from the temple sometime in the future that will make the waters of the Dead Sea fresh. And it says that fishermen will be there at En Gedi and will be pulling out fish. And so what extraordinary prophecies concerning that as well. Qumran, one of the most significant, certainly in the field of archaeology, the most significant find perhaps ever in archaeology. The Dead Sea Scrolls were found at Qumran back in the late 1940s, early 1950s. And they have complete books of all of the books of the Old Testament, of the Hebrew text, with the exception of Esther, but all of those books. And as a matter of fact, the Isaiah scroll, a complete scroll of Isaiah, is an extraordinary find. And those can be seen, some of these can be seen, as well as a facsimile of the Isaiah scroll can be seen at the Israel Museum in Jerusalem. Masada is one of King Herod's palaces that he built. He built numerous palaces in the area, and Masada was one that he built. Extraordinary story about Masada is there, and so that would be a place as well for you to visit. Well, there's an Israel for everyone, and why would you want to go to Israel? Let's just go through these very quickly. First of all, is faith and heritage. The number one reason why people go to Israel is because they want to experience the Bible firsthand. And it is an extraordinary experience. Everybody who goes says they were changed by the experience. They deepen their understanding of the text of the Bible. They deepen their understanding of biblical history. They deepen their love for the God of Israel, help them understand culture, help them understand history, help them understand the whole setting of both the Hebrew text of the Bible as well as the Greek text of the Bible, including the Gospels. And so this is a really, I think, vital, especially for those who are in biblical studies, to go to Israel to understand the faith better and to understand the Bible better and teaching it. But most people go there for that reason. They go with group tours with their churches, other group tours as well, in order to understand those things. And the truth is, everywhere you go in Israel, you're going to encounter history. So faith and heritage is certainly one of them. But there are other reasons to go. A lot of people go for the food. The food in Israel is absolutely extraordinary. Kibbutz is an agricultural community, and the kibbutzim, plural, these were communities that really were integral in the formation of the modern state of Israel. And these kibbutzim continue to function today. A lot of them have guest houses, even full hotels. You can go and stay in a kibbutz if you'd like. But a lot of these agricultural communities are producing the food, fresh food, beautiful food that's coming to all the hotels and all the restaurants in Israel. And the food there is absolutely extraordinary. And one of the great things about being in Israel is having an Israeli breakfast. That is an experience in and of itself. It's like the buffet breakfast never ends, with breads and cheeses and fruits and eggs and on and on and on it goes. And so that is an exciting thing to look forward to. But a lot of people go just for culinary, go from restaurant to restaurant, because the culinary scene in Israel is extraordinary. And wines as well, Israeli wines throughout the country. So over 400 boutique wineries. And so that is another reason people are going. There are both luxury and budget options for you. You can stay at the Waldorf Astoria if you want to, or at the Bereshit, which is at the Ramon Crater. 5-star hotels, but then you can stay with Bedouins if you want, in tents or in guest houses, religious guest houses as well. There's every option for you in how you want to experience Israel. There's adventure as well as nature, the hikes. There's a trail that runs the length of Israel you can hike. There's the Gospel Trail, or the Jesus Trail, that runs from Nazareth to Capernaum. It's about 60 kilometers, and you can go and take a 4-day hike and hike along that and stay there, either in guest houses or as in camping, and experience it. There are rock climbing, scuba diving down in the sea in Eilat. You can kayak, ski in the north. There's even one golf course that you can play at Caesarea. So adventure and nature in Israel is absolutely extraordinary as well. And then culture and history, of course, even beyond the biblical history, you're experiencing other histories. You're experiencing the Crusader history. You're experiencing Byzantine history. You're experiencing Muslim history when you're in Israel. And the culture of Israel is so multifaceted, and the history is also extraordinary. There are 9 UNESCO World Heritage Sites in Israel. And so it's an amazing place to be if you're interested in culture and history. And as a matter of fact, you can't go to Israel without bumping into history at some point. And then the last thing to consider is take your family. Multi-gen travel in Israel. Take your family, take your kids. Israel's an amazing place for children and young kids as well, because there's so many wonderful things to do. You can go to places where history is recreated. You can put on period dress and ride donkeys and ride camels and bake bread the way they did 2,000 years ago, and crush grapes and do all kinds of wonderful things that way. There are opportunities like that. You can also go and volunteer to dig at an archaeological site for a day with your family. And families who have done that, sometimes kids find real treasures in the dirt of Israel, because everywhere you dig in Israel, you encounter something. So there's amazing reasons to take kids. Helps them understand the faith. It helps them understand history. It also helps them understand Israel's important role in the world throughout history. So I'd encourage you to consider taking your family as well to Israel. And then please be in touch with us. We would love to hear from you. You can contact us by going to israel.travel. Israel.travel. You can scan the QR code. It'll take you there to our website. And on our website, we have all sorts of information. And you can contact us in our various regional offices, depending on where you are in the United States and Canada. We would love to hear from you. Also connect with us via Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook. We regularly put out information that will help you understand Israel, beautiful pictures of Israel, other information about what's going on in Israel. So we would love to connect with you, and I hope you do that. Reach out to me in the LA office if you're in the West Coast, or any one of our offices. We would love to help you. And again, get in touch with us through Israel.travel. Well, thanks so much for spending a few minutes touring Israel with me. It's been a pleasure to have you. I want to encourage you to start planning your trip to Israel now. I guarantee you a trip to Israel will change your life. We look forward to seeing you in Israel real soon. Shalom to you all.